Minecraft has a lot of neglected, abandoned, downright ignored, and utterly useless features. Recently, one of the most useless features in Minecraft history, the desert well, received a purpose and function after doing basically nothing for over 11 years. And this got me thinking, exactly how many Minecraft features have been neglected, abandoned, or ignored for the better part of the decade now, so much so that they weren't even added to Bedrock Edition, with developers stating that they will probably be removed in the future. And what would be a good purpose or function for them? Abandoned villages are a Minecraft feature of which development has been abandoned, as they haven't been touched since their addition to the game in 2016. For those of you who don't even know what they are, villages have a 2% chance of generating as abandoned, where the houses have cobwebs and mossy cobblestone in them, there are no doors or torches, and only zombie villagers and some passive mobs are present. Now, before I get comments from people saying, not everything in Minecraft needs to have a purpose, I propose that abandoned villages don't need to be given a purpose, but rather some much needed updates and touch-ups. For something which is so rare to find, I think they leave a lot to be desired. Similar to igloos, have some of the houses generate an underground dungeon where villagers are held or once were held hostage that can contain some rare loot like golden apples. Furthermore, up the abandoned feeling, make these villages actually feel abandoned rather than just a bit dusty, add blocks like gravel in place of the paths, throw some coarse dirt around as well to make it look trampled, make the village houses and buildings a lot more damaged with missing blocks and leaves and other natural blocks covering them, really giving them a ruined and overgrown feel. Add large divots or holes on the paths between houses and make any crop or farms absolutely destroyed. Increase their generation chance to about 5% as well. Now they should really draw players' attention in the rare circumstances that they are encountered. I've always wondered what percentage of Minecraft players have actually crafted these next items before. Lingering potions were added back in 2016 and since then have basically seen no notable changes. For those of you who aren't even aware of what they do, they are a special kind of potion you can throw on the ground that will apply their effects in a small area for a brief period of time. Now, while they aren't that useful in general, the real reason nobody ever uses them is because they are too hard to craft. In order to convert a potion to a lingering potion, you need a dragon's breath potion. As you can imagine, requiring a dragon's breath potion, which is already annoying to obtain in large quantities, just so you can make a worse version of a splash potion, is just never going to be practical. Lingering potions are too expensive to craft and are too weak and ineffective to use. So here's how I would improve them. First, increase the duration of their effects and make the area of effect much larger. Then, remove Dragon's Breath from the recipe and use another material such as maybe amethyst crystals or gold ingots instead. Now they aren't as useless compared to splash potions and can be obtained through farmable items, giving them practicality. Lingering potions aren't the only Minecraft feature with this problem though, as they are also required in the crafting recipes of another neglected item, tipped arrows. Now I don't think anybody is going to go out of their way to get Dragon's Breath, brew a lingering potion and then craft them, just so they can get 8 arrows which give slowness for 2 seconds. Once again, tipped arrows are just impractical and have received next to no significant updates or changes since their addition in 2016. Want to give your friend the speed effect? Then why the hell would you go out of your way to make 8 tipped arrows which only give speed 2 for 11 seconds each when you could just throw a splash potion at them? It's laughable how useless tipped arrows are when compared to the time, effort and resources it takes to obtain and craft them. Rails and minecarts have to be the oldest abandoned or neglected feature that exists in Minecraft. Nobody uses rails for transport around their world anymore, and they haven't for a very, very long time, as it's extremely expensive to make even a mildly long distance railway line, not to mention time consuming. And if you are crazy enough to go through all that effort, you'll be rewarded with a method of transport that's only slightly faster than sprint jumping and infinitely slower than every other method of transport in the game. Let's not forget the furnace minecart as well, which I don't think I've ever used once in my 12 years of playing Minecraft. And it seems that Mojang aren't very interested in updating or fixing minecart furnaces either, as Jeb mentioned in a tweet a couple years ago now that he thinks they will begin phasing out the furnace minecart. Also, judging by the fact that furnace minecarts aren't even in Minecraft Bedrock, their future looks very grim. Grim, just like your future if you don't subscribe. Guys, I'm done being the Mr. Nice Epic. It's time you actually felt pressure to subscribe. We need to hit 600k subs, so consider subscribe now. Pressure, lots of pressure. You better subscribe now, or or else. Anyways, clearly rails in general are a product of Minecraft's earlier days, when sprinting did not exist and boats were the only other valid transport method, with their last remaining current function being for short distance mob transportation and for use in redstone contraptions. I believe they could be improved by reducing the resource price on crafting rails, increasing their speed by a bit, and allowing furnace minecarts to maybe attach or push multiple minecarts at the same time, but even then, I don't think they would ever see much use in player transportation, and it seems unlikely they will be receiving updates in the future. On the topic of obsolete methods of transport, we have horses, donkeys, llamas, and most recently, camels. Now, ultimately, most of these mobs have seen little to no updates since their additions to the game, and upon release of the Elytra, became almost entirely useless overnight. That's not to say they were really being used much before the Elytra anyways, as the mild speed increase they provide, or in some cases, speed decrease, is not worth the additional effort you need when using them to get around. Now, what makes me kind of upset is that Mojang sort of had a chance to update these mobs with the recent addition of the camel to the game, but instead we just got a worse version of the horse that has this annoying movement cooldown every time you jump, and is even more frustrating to use due to its larger size, making it harder to traverse narrower spaces. So what could be done about them? Well, a double or even triple in speed for most of the land transport mobs couldn't hurt. Maybe giving the larger transportation mobs like the horse or camel the ability to trample or damage mobs when you walk into them could also help as well. However, I think a cool feature for some of these mobs would be to add a carriage to the game and allow these mobs to transport or pull other mobs like villagers in them, maybe even with some chests. Currently, we don't actually have a great method of long distance mob transportation, so this would give these mobs a great purpose. Maybe even in the camel's case specifically, you could put passive mobs such as villagers in one of their seats, making them a version of the boats that functions on land. Now, speaking of boats, I wasn't planning to include this next feature because of how new it is, but on a scale of 1 to utterly pointless, it's an 11, with a side of disappointment as to what it could have been. You know, a Minecraft feature really isn't that useful when it doesn't even have a dedicated wiki page to it. Bamboo rafts, recently added to the game in 1.20, were a big missed opportunity in my opinion, as instead of adding another boat variant, rafts could have been a larger version of boats that can carry more entities on them. Imagine being able to carry multiple villagers back to your base at the same time, instead of one by one. Now, yes, I understand they are meant to be the bamboo wood version of the boats, but come on, they didn't even need to do anything special. At least making them longer with an extra seat on the back would have been nice. Rabbits are a pretty useless mob already, but I'll let them slide because they are pretty unique compared to the other mobs in the game, all things considered. Currently, killing rabbits besides being infuriating is pointless though, as they only drop rabbit hide and raw rabbit, not much of it either, mind you. We know what you can do with raw rabbit, but what can you do with rabbit hide? Well, 4 rabbit hide can be crafted together to make 1 leather. So on average you have to kill about 6 to 8 rabbits just to get 1 leather. At this point, why would you not just go kill a single cow and get potentially more leather from that than from 8 rabbits combined? Now yes, I know they are currently being used to craft bundles in an experimental version of Minecraft, but I don't see those being really that useful either. Next, we have a mob that was once useful that was made useless. Ocelots added way back in 2012 were the first iteration of cats, as when they were tamed, they would turn into cats. That's basically all they did for 7 years, but also could scare creepers, which was sort of useful. However, in 1.14, cats were turned into their own mob, and ocelots could no longer be tamed. So not only can ocelots no longer be tamed, but they don't do anything really that unique, and only drop some string upon being killed. My question is, why not at least let them still be tamed? Rather than scare creepers, ocelots could actively attack them, or maybe they could even just function like dogs and attack mobs with you. Seems a bit unfair and lazy just to abandon anything unique about the mob. Since we are on the topic of mobs which have no function, let's talk about bats. Bats drop no items when killed, not even XP for God's sake, not to mention that they are extremely annoying to hit, and must have a world record for the least updated Minecraft feature in history, effectively remaining unchanged since their addition to the game in late 2012. Now, according to Jeb, bats are meant to just be atmospheric mobs that constantly spawn similar to the squid. The squid does have somewhat useful item drops though, as well as interesting interactions with guardians, leaving the bat severely lacking in comparison. A Reddit suggestion to make the bat useful I came across mentioned allowing bats to have some form of echolocation, allowing them to indicate where caves are to players when you are underground through just hovering, facing, or trying to fly in that direction. This would give bats an interesting and unique function, while also still remaining atmospheric like Jeb intended. Polar bears are another big missed opportunity mob which felt very lazy in design. They are pretty rare to encounter due to them only spawning in a small selection of cold biomes, they don't drop anything unique or useful, and they don't even have any unique mechanics besides attacking foxes. Polar bears have no depth to them, they are boring. Ever since their addition to the game in Minecraft 1.10, released in 2016, probably the most underwhelming Minecraft update of all time by the way, they have also seen very little in the significant changes department. Polar bears actually need to be threatening and scary, increase their movement speed, make them stalk or aggro at players from a much longer distance, maybe even make it so they can charge at you dealing more damage, and then at least make them drop something more fitting and useful like leather rather than fish. Alright, if there's one neglected or abandoned feature we can end this video on, it's one which has done nothing since its addition to the game. Fletching tables were first added to the game back in Minecraft 1.14, released in early 2019. When they were originally released in Snapshot 19W11A, the patch notes mentioned that they would receive functionality in the next major themed update. However, to this day, 6 updates and over 4 years later, they still do nothing besides being the Fletcher Village's profession block. Now, somehow despite doing nothing, the Fletching Table has gained a bit of a cult following, receiving its own Block of the Month official Minecraft article as well last year, but there still seems to be no sign that any functionality will be added to it soon. Instead of talking about what Fletching Tables should do, let's theorize about maybe why they don't have any functionality. I personally think that the Fletching Table was intended to do something related to the combat snapshots, which not long after the Fletching Tables addition to the game, were being regularly released for a period of time. But with the now almost 3-year pause or delay on the combat snapshots and no word from Jeb on their return, the Fletching Tables functionality may have been delayed or postponed with it. Who knows if we'll ever get to see what Mojang had in store for them. I hope you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe and join my Discord. Thank you all so much for watching.